A professor of philosophy traveled to see the Japanese master, Nanin. He arrived with deep questions, expecting to receive answers he could add to his collection of intellectual theories. Nanin sat the man down and began pouring tea. But he didn't stop when the cup was full. He kept pouring. Hot tea spilled violently over the edges and pooled onto the floor, until the bewildered professor yelled for him to stop. Look at Nanin's response in this transcript. He tells the professor that his mind is exactly like the cup. He is so stuffed with his own opinions, speculations, and doctrines that there is simply no room for anything new to enter. You carry that exact same cup. Every time you approach a new experience, you bring a heavy load of personal philosophies and preconceived notions that act as a filter. Seeking new answers while holding on to those old ideas is a futile exercise. The truth cannot get in because a guest cannot enter a house that has no space. We are taught to prize our intellect, assuming that reasoning, analyzing, and constant arguing are the best tools for understanding reality. But constant argumentation is a hidden form of aggression. When you argue, you assert dominance, and an aggressive mind naturally shuts itself off from the reality around it. Think of your natural intelligence as a clear mirror. Every concept, opinion, and doctrine you collect acts like dust landing on it. As ideas accumulate, the mirror becomes obscured, becoming completely dull and blind. Compare this to the mind of a child. They are highly intelligent precisely because they are innocent. They haven't spent decades gathering that mental dust. Intellectual superiority functions as a dense defensive wall. It locks you inside your own head, isolated from a direct experience of existence. Simply trying to have an open mind is a trap. The human mind is terrified of true emptiness because it feels like death. The moment you spot an empty space, you will instinctively rush to fill it with a new theory or belief. Even if you manage to clear your thoughts, the ego, the I, stays behind to take pride in how incredibly open-minded it has become. There is a story of a disciple who proudly returned to the master Bodhidharma. The student announced that he had followed instructions and had finally achieved a state of complete emptiness. According to the text, Bodhidharma immediately hit the student with his staff. He told him to throw that emptiness out, pointing to a logical trap. If you say, "I am empty," the I is still very much there, occupying the space. Claiming humility or emptiness immediately resurrects the ego. If the I is there to witness its own surrender, then no real surrender has occurred. Because the mind will always try to refill the vessel, merely emptying the cup won't work. The cup has to be completely shattered, so it can never hold anything again. Every boundary of the mind must collapse. The bottom falls out entirely, turning your rigid identity into an open, boundless abyss. A true spiritual master does not provide comfort. Instead, they act as a midwife to this psychological destruction, guiding you through the collapse of everything you think you know. This process requires a violent catharsis. All the emotional rubbish and suppressed anxieties gathered over lifetimes must be brought to the surface and thrown out. Spiritual rebirth requires a mandatory psychological death. The old structure must fail completely to make space for the new. When that suppressed suffering rises up, you must face it directly. Do not look for an intellectual escape or a way to go around the pain. The fire burns away the false layers of identity you've gathered. Once the rubbish is destroyed, your core self remains indestructible. As the original transcript notes, unbearable darkness and intense suffering are the immediate precursors to bliss. This isn't a theory. It is the point where the ego finally gives up. A moment of wonder. Only when the cup is shattered, when the ego is completely absent, does the individual become a hollow channel for the universe. The entirety of existence begins pouring into you from every possible dimension. For these next few days, drop your philosophies wholesale. Become entirely empty and stay in that space without ever allowing the mind to consciously claim that emptiness.